All right, let's go ahead and get this turned off now. Good morning. I'm your host, Justin Banner, with Garbage Online. And like I said, if you don't know who I am, I've been involved in the automotive business for way longer than I should have. um, but no, I've been involved practically since I was 18, technically earlier if you don't want to get people in legal trouble. Uh, but yeah, I started out as a mechanic. I worked as a service writer. I've sold and delivered parts, and now I'm a journalist. My day job, as I often call it as a joke, is Motor Trend. I'm actually a news writer there, and I'm bringing back this brand known as Garbage because I want to get back into motorsports, and especially heavily into the aftermarket scene and talking about parts that way. If you don't know or haven't followed along, the about another 2 weeks from now, I think it is. No, actually, it's probably less than that. Anyway, I'll be going to the SEMA show, and my plan is on Thursday is to actually do an IRL stream from the show. I already have interviews lined up. As a matter of fact, let me see how many I have. Excuse me just a minute. I had to look at my schedule here. Uh, so I can go ahead and confirm that I have one, two, three, four, five interviews with people at different booths set up. I won't say who they are for now, but I can tell you that they're people you don't want to miss with these interviews, especially at 10 a.m. and at 1 p.m. Not to throw anybody else under the bus and say they're not worth it, but I know that these two particular characters are going to be quite interesting to talk to. Um, and they're actually in two separate parts of the automotive culture. Uh, One is related to hot rodding, I'll say that, and the other is more related to the sport tuner and that sort of area. So I'm gonna be glad I've got these lined up. Uh, Again, so far as as long as nothing happens, you guys are going to get five interviews along with seeing what's on the show floor. If everything really goes right that Thursday, I may stick around through to Friday morning, but I haven't fully decided that. Right now, the plan is to do Thursday, and Friday is my day to go home. But following that Friday, I will be doing another IRL stream from Super Lap Battle in Buttonwillow. And thankfully, it has decent cell coverage for the carrier I have for doing the mobile Wi-Fi, the mobile router. So we'll see how that goes, because that's going to be kind of exciting too. Because I haven't been to Super Lap Battle, at least in person, since I've joined with Motor Trend. Again, whole reason why I'm so excited about starting this garbage brand again is to get back into doing that kind of stuff. But anyway, the biggest thing I want to talk about is right now is the news, and then I'm only going to cover one and a half subjects today. The first one, I kind of I kept debating in my head or not to talk about it, but let's. I think it's worth talking because unfortunately it is a bit of sad news. I hate to bring people down on a Saturday morning, but let's go ahead and you go. There you go. Yeah, Bob Riley. If you're not familiar with him, oop, bump the microphone. If you're not familiar with him, you are familiar with the Riley brand in some way or another. Legendary figure in the motorsport world because of the Riley technologies. You might recognize that little symbol there. But as far as motorsports goes, yeah, he was part of his company was part of the 74 Ranch Resort IMSA on LMP3, They also work with Kelly Moss Racing with their Porsche GTD. There's also the Kelly Moss Mustang in GT4, which is part of the Michelin Pilot Challenge, and in GT America's I think it's their GT3 series, but it's the CrowdStrike team. So, yeah, this is a major blow to the Riley brand because he was so instrumental in building up Riley Technologies, and he got his start in IndyCar with AJ Foyt. He helped build these. What were they called? The Coyotes. That's what it was. The Coyote chassis. So, yeah, Bob Riley, unfortunately, passing away this week. And it's quite sad, again, for the motorsport world because of how much influence he's had and his brand has had. So, sad to see that. But let's go ahead and get back on to some more positive news, and that's the revival of the Scout brand. This is kind of neat and something I've been looking forward to seeing for a while when I heard that they were going to be bringing this brand back. Now, if you're not familiar, Scout was a 1960s to on up into the 70s, a brand that built trucks. And if you're probably more familiar with the International brand, that's who made Scout. It was their answer to Jeep, because Jeep was getting pretty popular among the civilian crowd. And the first vehicle they built was the Scout 80, and it was a pickup truck. Again, built pretty much like a little bit of a mix of a Ford Bronco truck and a Jeep truck of the time. Short wheelbase, ruggedly off-road, awesome trucks made to do work. They, had things like PTOs and other such things. But today, the Scout brand, I think, went away in was it the 80s? I want to say is the 80s. Let me double check that. Actually, I should have just gone there, History 101, because it may have explained there. But yeah, there's one of the original International Scouts. Cool little trucks. Short story real quick, but there's a place up in Tennessee where my family has a vacation home that my grandfather helped his father build. And one of the people that lived down from us in that little home had an International Scout for a long time. It was still sitting there up until, man, I don't even know. I wonder if it's even still there. If it is, it's rusted away, unfortunately, just because of East Coast winters and dealing with the mountains, because it's up in the mountains in East Tennessee. But yeah, here is late 1960. It was a Scout 80 that was born. There's the one that most people recognize with the International Harvester. And there's a real truck, of course. But let's see. Does it tell us when the Scout went away? Here we go. It was 1980. Okay, so I was right. It was October 21st, 1980. That's when this last production Scout went out of the production line, and Scout Motors pretty much went poof. But today they've come back with two new vehicles, kind of digging into their history a little bit, coming up with a pickup truck and an SUV. And the SUV is known as the Traveler, while the pickup truck is known as the Terra. They are names within the history of the Scout brand, though I would have loved to have seen the older Scout names come back, but regardless, really cool. Now, the big news, if you're not familiar with it, is the fact that these two vehicles are technically tied in with Volkswagen a little bit. It's a weird stepchild of sorts. Volkswagen has involvement, but there's nothing truly Volkswagen about the Scout brand. Basically, Volkswagen put money into it, and they're going to be building these vehicles in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And what's amazing, according to Jerry Rig Every Day, is the fact that the parts that they're going to be using on both of these scouts, both the Terra and the Traveler, are going to be coming from within 500 miles of the plant in Spartanburg. And what really, and you can kind of see the influence here. I don't like these websites where you scroll to play stuff like this. See, it's so weird. Anyway, so you can kind of see where they're playing off the design of the original Scout 80 and the Scout SUV from the 1960s in the front of both the Traveler and the Terra. So that's kind of fun. And actually, the red color you see on the Traveler here is actually a variation on that final Scout 80 that went out in 19. Oh, it was a Scout 2. Maybe it was a Scout 2. Anyway, it's a callback to that very final truck going out, and this is the same type of color. I don't remember what they call it. I think it's like a terracotta red or something like that. This blue they showed off with this with the Terra truck is a callback to the original Scout 80 truck for sure, because they did mention that during their live stream reveal. And he says it's a base off of the first truck that rolled off the line, which is a blue Scout 80 pickup truck. So this blue is kind of a callback to that. Now, what I do kind of enjoy about the Terra and specifically, I'll get it out eventually, is there are some really interesting features made into just the body of the truck. Let's see if they have a good... Now, if you're wondering yeah, you can kind of see here. Now, if you're wondering why I'm pulling from the website more than individual pictures, I didn't go to the event, unfortunately. Unfortunately. I was stuck here in California because I didn't get the invite and others did. But whatever. I'm bringing it to you now because I want to give my opinion on this thing. I think, honestly, it's really cool. And there's some really cool features on the Terra specifically. And the one I want to call out to is this little grab handle and a little step here in the back. That, I'm surprised I have not seen any other pickup truck manufacturer do something similar to this. At least with a grab handle back here. We've seen people do the back step here. I want to say it was... No, Nissan I think had the step back here on the Titan. But the front step is a little bit on the new side. But the grab handle, I've not seen another manufacturer do that. And I think that's a really smart idea. It gives you something to kind of hold on to and plant onto as you're reaching down into the bed. That's why it's all there. Is so you can access the bed without, having to pop down the tailgate. Another thing you can see that's going to be common on both trucks are these little tie downs that are made onto the hood. These allow you to tie cargo down that's on the roof. So if you have like some loose luggage or something, you can just tie to these little these little handles here on the hood, and they are structurally sound enough to support whatever's on the roof. Let's see what else is there. It's really cool about this Terra. Oh, and now let's go into what's kind of another thing that's kind of common between both vehicles. And here's something interesting. I didn't notice this before, but apparently this is not only showing the range extender, which yes, these are fully EV vehicles. They're fully a battery electric vehicle, and that's their primary motivation is these electric motors at the front and the rear. I'll show you something special about this rear one because I think it's interesting. But the other part is this is the fuel line for a fuel filler to the what are they calling it? The Harvester. That's what it is. They're calling it they're calling it the Harvester. I should remember it's not international because technically it's not. But the Harvester is a little small gasoline engine that's fitted to the very rear of the truck or the SUV because they both have it that will allow you to gain another 200 or more miles of range. So you're getting about 300 miles out of the straight battery pack. And then if you need extra mileage, you can do so with the extended range motor. And I think this is a smart idea. Right now, the battery technology isn't quite there for people who are really concerned about it, at the end of the day, when you think about how many miles you actually do, for most people, keep that in mind, most people, 200 miles of range is more than enough to get you from your house to work and back again. Now, bear in mind, you can also still recharge while you're driving. You can right now it's only DC fast charging, and the fastest you can do that is typically around 30 minutes. I think most of them around 30, anywhere between 30 and 45 minutes. That's probably about average, considering that there are two different voltage levels that these battery packs run at. I think the most common is 400 still right now, but 800 and above are going to be becoming more common as we develop these battery packs to have more energy density inside of them and shrink their size. But I believe that now Scout didn't say what level this is, if it's a 400 volt battery pack or if it's an 800 volt battery pack. And that matters because that is going to kind of determine how fast you can charge with it, at least with the architecture behind it. You could get a battery pack that's technically smaller but able to use the 800 volt components. But the biggest thing when it comes to charging a battery is heat. The hotter it gets, the slower it's going to charge. So the more heat you can evacuate from the battery pack, the faster you can charge. But there's also a caveat. You don't want to go too cold because then, again, you can drop battery voltage or your recharge rate down again because it's too cold. That's why a lot of battery packs on cars have a precondition mode. You can tell it that you're going to go charge it at a DC fast charger, and the battery pack will become preconditioned so that it's at the optimal temperature to start charging, whether it's hot enough or cold enough. Anyway, so the battery pack itself, according to Scout, will have about 300 miles, maybe a little bit more. And then the range extender is supposed to add another 200 or more. Now, the or more part probably comes down to how often that little motor has to run. Again, that motor. Technical people will get kind of mad at me because the electric parts are motors. This is an internal combustion engine. Now, the other thing that Scout didn't really talk about, and I really wish they would have, is what this engine is. Because bear in mind, these are all still concepts, but according to Scout, that at least that what I've heard, is that the Terra and the Traveler are 85% production ready. I would imagine that probably includes the the ER, the extended range motor, but who knows? But there are some good things about this. Like I said, I really wish I knew what type of engine they were using in this. If it's like a 2-cylinder or a 3-cylinder, if you think about it, it doesn't even have to be that big. It just has to be big enough to send a charge to the battery pack. So this could, in all honesty, be something really tiny. It could be a 2-cylinder. It could be a 4-cylinder. It could be a little 3-cylinder. Could even be a rotary, but I doubt it. That's not very fuel efficient, unfortunately. But we do know that it is gasoline powered because Scout said you take it to your gas station and you power it that way. And sorry, I was just checking my stream here, make sure everything's okay. Anyway, yeah, so that's a unique part about this, both the Traveler and the Terra. The other unique thing is, you can see here, is the fact that it is a full real frame. This is a body on frame vehicle. I have certain people kind of argue that no, this is not a full frame. No, it's a full frame here, people. You know, even though it has a battery pack in here, the frame is what's actually doing the majority of the support. It's not too dissimilar to how you do a retrofit to a degree. You can put the battery pack under the body of a truck, kind of in a similar fashion if you're doing a full electric conversion where you don't have a motor sitting here, sending a drive shaft out to the rear wheels via a solid axle or independent axle, wherever you have. So in this case, this would be something you could look to as inspiration to do your own EV conversion on a pickup truck or an SUV that has a body on frame. You could do the same thing. Again, the caveat is the motor couldn't be here empowering the wheels with a drive shaft. That would be the biggest thing. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the part that really, I think, shocks a lot of people when they finally realize it. And I'm going to go over to another website, and that's the Utopian. And David Tracy and, gosh, I don't remember the other fellow's name, or lady's name maybe. Hubert Mees. They went to the event, and they actually crawled under this truck, and they noticed that this is, in fact, a real live axle truck. So the rear axle on the Traveler and the Terra is a real solid axle. And you can tell that mostly because of these here. These are little not flanges. I can't think of the word. Basically, they're structurally tying in the beam part of the axle, which are where your axles are, into the casing. In this case, instead of holding a pumpkin, it holds the motor and the reduction gear. Another part you can see here is it has a Pinard bar. And this one shows you one of the 4 links. Let me go back to the Scout Motors for a second. And let's just choose the Terra because why not? Let's go back to that image. Oh, too far. It's kind of hard to see on this image, but once you blow it up and actually clean it up a little bit by brightening this up just enough, it's a 4 link. So we have an upper link, a lower link, and a Pinard bar, or track bar, or Panhard bar. Depends on who you ask. And they bring up this ZF E-beam axle. I'm pretty sure this isn't this beam axle anyway. But this is typically seen under larger trucks. You can kind of see by the massive bolts here that this is made more for something like a 2500, 3500, bigger trucks like that. So if this is really a ZF axle, it's more likely a smaller version of it, which, being the fact that this is a solid axle, a live axle, if you were, kind of makes doing this a little bit easier in a sense, because once you build this part, it's just finding a way to attach the tubes to the casing. And obviously they have these little finned out pieces going to the axle tubes here. But yeah, that's that. I don't know if it's a ZF, but it's very close. I think Magna also creates an E-axle. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, so they call theirs the E-beam. That's what they call it. Yeah, just accept. So here's their version. Again, theirs is made more for a larger truck. I don't have good images of it, unfortunately. Let's see. Can I open this up? Here we go. This is a much better and much closer image. But again, you can see it's made for a larger truck. It has the axle caps here where you can just pull the axle out without having to tear everything else down. But again, the motor is located within the pumpkin, or what we would traditionally call a pumpkin. Now, in this case, it looks like Magna separates the inverter out, whereas the Scout looks like they include it on the axle. And there is a little bit of a risk of doing this, but considering they have this skid plate right here in front of the axle, there's a tiny bit less risk of something hitting here. It'd be the same issues of having a pumpkin, like with a traditional drive shaft coming out right here. So again, I don't think these are fully production. I think this part might change enough to where they can either they'll rotate it a little bit to give it a little bit more clearance from this end, or they'll probably do something else to kind of help deflect any roots and branches and things like that from potentially hitting what I am thinking is the inverter case. But and as you can see, the front end is independent, so it's built more like a Bronco than a Jeep, or at least a new Bronco than a Jeep. Excuse me. But it is using a forked lower connection to go to the control arm. So the only thing I could say that's not great about that is by running the drivetrain through here, you could potentially limit just how much travel you can actually put into the Scout. Now, it's not to say you couldn't get more travel out of it. Honestly, it's just a matter of potentially replacing this lower half with something that gives you a little bit more room. But yeah, it's like I said, it's built more like a Bronco than it is a Jeep. A Jeep would have a solid front axle. Oh man, I need that. So they got another shot of the rear. This one might be of the SUV. And there's an oil cooler, as they pointed out earlier. Again, you can see the connection for the Panhard rod. And you can kind of see the welds. Now, again, keep in mind that this is pretty much a hand built truck and a hand built SUV. So these parts don't look great for a production vehicle, but again, this is not a production vehicle. It is 85% there, so there's still a lot of this is being hand built. But yeah, I'm really encouraged by this. Now, you're probably wondering, why bother? Because if you think about other all-electric vehicles, even in the truck and SUV market, they do not use a solid rear axle. They use an independent axle. Rivian does it. I think Ford does it, even though it's based off of a Ford F-150. With the Lightning, I just mentioned, the all-electric F-150. Who else is building a pickup truck right now? Oh, of course, Tesla with the Cybertruck. It's using an independent rear suspension. Why would they want to do a solid axle like this? Like, what is the advantage? In terms of off-road, I can tell you what a lot of people like to say there is, and that's as you're doing something like rock crawling or even heavy desert racing, is the fact that, one, that axle is very strong. It's very hard to truly mess up a true live axle or solid axle rear axle. Front axles, because you're steering and doing a whole bunch more, you need that control. IRS is enough of or IFS is enough of a compromise, but yet still strong enough. The problem, the other advantage as far as rock crawlers are concerned is that as one axle is being pushed up by a rock, another one is being acted upon the other side. So the other tire is getting pressure, so to speak, as this is going over bumps, so it's moving like that, so it's putting more pressure down this tire too. I don't really believe that completely, because there are vehicles that do rock crawling without a solid rear axle, and those are UTVs. And there have been two in the King of the Hammers. One, I think, is driven right now by Jordan Pellegrino, part of Genrite. And there was another one that was built by a group in Australia. There was another one built by a group in Australia, and it's a completely independent front and rear. And it's done. They've done well. They haven't won, like they haven't pulled off a Scott Campbell and won the event with something that's completely radical, but they've been performing pretty well. I think Jordan did pretty well this year, this past King of the Hammers, for what is essentially still a very radical vehicle. Like I said, he's one of two, maybe three. But yeah, oh here, this is kind of nice. They do point out some of the different parts on here because why not? It's here. Looks like it got some night shots. No, I'm not sure what they were getting here, but that's interesting. Oh, he's got a flash. That's what's happening. Because they do this late in the day. If you didn't see it, it was late in the East Coast day. I mean, great for dramatic effect, but not so great for photography as far as like after the event. I'm not sure what that little can is up there, unless that's part of the. That's either part of the motor or part of the gear reduction. I'm not sure what's going on there. That's interesting. Okay, so yeah, they're saying that this is the EV motor then. And then the gearbox comes in and connects to the axles right here. And the other great thing is both front and rear have a true locker. They are electronically controlled, but they are true locking differentials. So another great thing for off-road running is having true lockers, because then you're now able to put 100% power to both wheels on both ends. But they do talk about unsprung mass, and that's what a lot of people, when this truck finally came, these two vehicles finally came out, not a lot of people could believe that this is a true solid axle. I heard some people trying to say this is a Don Dion style axle, where it's not quite independent, but not quite solid axle either. So it has a little bit of give, but it's like a swing axle, if I remember correctly. I'm pulling off the top of my head. But yeah, this is something that's kind of important. It's known as a thing known as unsprung weight. And because of where this is located, it is a lot of unsprung weight on the axle. So a lot of people were thinking, yeah, that doesn't make sense. Why would they do that? But as I said, it makes sense from an off-roader kind of standpoint, where you have a really tough axle. And again, if you're into rock crawling, the whole theory behind that. But it does it. But there's a lot of compromises in doing an E-axle like this. And one is unsprung weight, but it's also packaging. As you can see, it's a lot of packaging you're putting into the center of the vehicle, and you can kind of see the top of it here, that this is something you have to compensate for. And while you have to compensate for that for a traditional live axle, for lack of a better word, there's just so much more going on with an E-axle. That's why you kind of see more people do, when they do the conversions on their pickup trucks or SUVs or even old hot rods, they'll pull a motor here and put a drive shaft through, because it's an easier package to deal with. Now you have this massive inverter, motor, gearing that's all in the center here that you have to take up with this frame. And the other thing that you have to be concerned with is the fact that this is moving. So, this isn't a still thing. It is, as I've said previously, it's dynamic. It moves. So as this is moving around, this is moving. As your axles are moving, this is also moving. So you have to take that into consideration as the axle rotates around its center, as it goes up and down, and as it goes a little bit forward and backward as it goes through up and down travel. Because it does, even though there's 4 links there and you think solid axle, it shouldn't do anything, But remember, as those links move, everything moves with it. As long as you get the arcs right, it shouldn't move that much, but there is still just that little bit of movement that you have to take care of, or have to consider. Not take well, you have to take care of it too, but you have to consider it for the most part. So yeah, that's an interesting choice that Scouting has made, and I think it'll ring more with people who are really hardcore in off roading because of that, because there is a solid rear axle. I know that's not a lot of people on my side don't normally hear it, but once you start getting to the enthusiast side, like you hear that the F-150 has an independent rear axle, you hear the Rivian has an independent rear axle. The first thought most of these people have is that, oh, that's something that can get strained and bind up and break. That's something I don't want happening on the trail. Whereas this, because it's all one movement, there is no. That's the other advantage. Like I said, it's a tough axle, and a lot of the toughness just comes down to the fact that it doesn't really bind in the same way as an independent axle. So like I said, there are some neat things, but packaging is the biggest thing that makes doing an e-axle like this on a brand new vehicle kind of unusual, along with that unsprung mass, because that is a lot of mass to have on the axle and moving around dynamically like that. But we'll see. Again, this both the Terra and the Traveler are again allegedly 85% production ready. I don't know what the other 15% is left. I don't know if it's just getting the tooling ready to start building these frames, or if it's something with the extended range motor they have on the back here, or if it's something else in between, like maybe something with the motors, maybe something with that e-axle. Who knows? But that is allegedly. These vehicles are both allegedly 85% ready vehicles. So hopefully that means that we'll see these very soon. They're talking. What was it? 2027 is the initial target for production. And again, if you're looking at an all-electric vehicle, the fact that these are starting below 60,000 is pretty impressive, because I don't know if you've looked at a new truck lately, but I should probably talk about size. Now, a lot of people are comparing the Terra to a Rivian. To be honest, there are a few Rivian people there at Scout Motors, but this isn't the same size as a Rivian. It's actually, from what I've understood, it's actually more in line with an F-150. So if you're concerned, like, oh, this is just going to be a Rivian with a solid axle, no, it's not. This is a proper truck of its own. But anyway, I was saying, if you're just looking at that price, like, wow, under 60,000, that still sounds expensive. Let me show you the price of an F-150 right now. I think you'll be quite shocked if you haven't looked at it. F-150 starts at $37.65, but that is an absolute. Yeah. That's an absolute base of a base. Actually, I'll tell you what. Well, people know I live here. Let's go. That's close enough. But again, that's the base of a base. That's very bare bones. A two-door pickup. If we compare it to a super cab, you're already starting at over $41,000. I think this doesn't include. Yes, it doesn't include the delivery fee, which I think. Let's see, 5.5 foot bed. Oh, they don't even have a 5.5 foot bed. It's only 6.5 foot. So it is okay. So the Rivian. Blah. I think the Terra has a 5.5 foot bed rather than a 6.5 foot. So the bed's a little bit shorter than F-150, but regardless, I mean, this is if we want to go bare bones, nothing else. Oh, I'm actually looking at the wrong one. That's a super cab, not a super crew, which would be a 5.5 foot bed. Yeah, there we go. So still 43,720. So you're already starting. Like I said, that is an XL. That's with nothing in it. What most people are going to be buying are more than likely going to be like an XLT or Lariat. Trimmer, maybe, but more than likely it's going to be one of these two. As you see, XLT, when you start out, you're like around 50, probably going around $52,000 when you add in the delivery fee. The Lariat starts at 65, so that's going to be around 66 and a half when you include the destination. And again, there's no incentive here like the Scout has, but I'm not going to include that because that's something you take out in your taxes. It's not something normally that you take out immediately. So walking out the door, I would say the under $60,000 for an all electric truck with, 350 miles of range. That doesn't include the range extender, that price, by the way. Let's see if I can go back. So yeah, that $60,000, under 60,000, does not include the range extender. But they don't list. Obviously, they're not going to list what that is with the range extender. But still, I think for a pickup truck and an SUV, somewhere around these numbers are not bad. It's would I love to see them cheaper, of course, but I would love to see the modern pickup truck much cheaper than what it is right now. So yeah, we'll have to see how these turn out. I really hope Scout really does get something going with these two particular vehicles and keeps growing it as a brand, because I think there are things I think they're doing right, things that they're kind of doing wrong. Like, I don't mind the fact that it has the solid rear axle, and it might not be a bad idea at the end of the day, but there are a few things you're compromising with a solid rear axle that maybe they probably should have left for the truck and given the SUV a independent rear axle. But again, at the end of the day, I'm kind of just speaking out. I'm not really basing this off what they know. And I know that the enthusiast market is going to be more than ecstatic with both an SUV and a truck with not only a real frame, but a real quote unquote rear axle by having the live axle in the back. So we'll see. I think there are good things that Scout's doing. There are things that are kind of questionable, but aren't feasible. That are feasible. Things that are probably going to make these things work really well. And one of the big things, of course, like I said, it's being built here in the U.S., built in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And all the parts, according to Jerry Rig Every Day, is within 500 miles of the plant. So it's all stuff that's made here in the U.S. So that's really good for these particular vehicles, for the fact that they can get parts pretty easily. You don't have to worry about stuff having to be imported in from China or even Europe. So that's really good. That's really good news for these two trucks. So let me go ahead and go back to me for a second, because I need to close that window. I'm going to quit Opera. And tell you what, I'm going to go take a quick little break to top off my water, because I'm out of water. And I will be right back. Enjoy a little bit of music here. Shouldn't be long. There we go. Actually, let's enjoy something a little bit better. And yes, I will work on that mix. All right. I told you it wouldn't be very long. Get this up. Yeah, I told you it wouldn't be very long. Go ahead and turn this music down. Because luckily I just have to go to my kitchen. It's not a very long walk. I'm on a single story residence here. Uh, um, I would show you that this is the mini Texas States Cup, but unfortunately, yeah, I'm not sure how that came off. I'll have to figure out a way to redo that. Probably do a little new decal or something. I've been getting a little cough since early this morning. Not sure what the heck's been going on. I think it's just a little bit of allergies because it's changing of the seasons. So that's when my allergies love to strike. Blah. Anyhow, like I said, short news because, like I said, the allergies have been kind of bothering me a little bit. So let's go ahead and get into Car Mechanic Simulator. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I won't keep the ambient sound off. It's just wind. Ugh. Anyhow, here we are back in Car Mechanic Simulator, and where we left off, we bought this Aston Martin. Oop, wrong part. There we go. She's the DB5. It was part of this DLC that I got. But, standard old DB5, bought from a junkyard. Or no, I bought it from a barn and find. That's what it was. The first thing we did was go ahead and wash it in and out. So it's much cleaner. Just once you open the door. Why won't you open the door? Oh, well. But we cleaned it. Seriously, why won't you open the door? I don't know. Maybe this one doesn't do that. Anyway, we cleaned it inside and out. And I used it as a demonstrator on how the brake lathe worked. That's what it was. And now I actually want to go through and actually work on it today and do a full restoration on it. Well, restoration as far as this game is concerned. So let's go ahead and put it back on the lift. I can't remember. Well, let me do it from here. Yes, it will. Good. So, again, I do forget. Here we go. So yeah, I know I just pulled these off not that long ago, but let's go ahead and break these all down. So we'll do a full restoration on this car. Again, I wouldn't use WD-40. I would be using PB Blaster or something similar. Okay, I'll tell you what, this hood, yeah, it's got a little bit of a bump in it. So let's see if I have to restore that. What else should I do? There's no oil pan because it wouldn't let me start it. Okay, yeah, so I gotta actually take the exhaust off, I think. If not the exhaust, if there's a starter on here, I might have to remove that. No starter. Starter's gone. Okay, whatever. Let's go ahead and remove you. I wish it was that easy. Wow, do I wish it was that easy? Anyway. And yeah, it can be that easy to take a drive shaft off where it's only like 4 bolts on the uh, pinion. Um, anyway, so that's a little realistic. That Wow, this is a very short gearbox. Yeah, I thought it would be that one. And there we go. There is a clutch and flywheel assembly. I think I can leave that on for this particular engine. Let's go ahead and take this oil filter off because why not? I think that's it. So yeah, let's go ahead and drop this back down again. And what we'll do is we'll move that to stall 1. Should be low enough now to pull out the engine. Again, wish it was that easy, but it's not. Go ahead and put that back for now. Yeah, I wish it was that easy, but it's not. Anyway, let's go ahead and take some of this stuff off. Because like I said, I do want to do a full restoration on it. Oh, can you not take the fender off? Huh, I thought you could take the fender off. Guess not. See, the door comes off, so you should be able to open the door. That's so odd. And I don't believe the taillights come off in one piece like that, but maybe it does. Yeah, I'm surprised it didn't model the fenders to come off. Because there is a part line there, so who knows. Alright, let's go ahead and... Oops. I should be able to... That's not what I wanted. Okay. I forgot you have to do it this way. Which is weird. You're already right here. You're already in a disassembly mode. Why not just let me do it? Anyway. So let's go ahead and lift this back up some more. Oh, yeah, glass. Do the wipers come off? No, they don't. Okay. And that one. Alright. Technically, the glass on the door should come off, but whatever. Alright, let's go ahead and move you to stall 1. Let's use you. Yeah, it's fine. And we'll move you back. Now, let's lift this car back up. Again, I do appreciate the fact that it lets you get this deep into the car repair, but there is some stuff that's just not real. Like that whole welding thing was kind of a great example of what was not really real. Let's go ahead and take the brakes off. Why'd you ding me? It was right there. I was clicking on the thing. Oh well. Brake cads off. Brake rotor off. Don't think there is anything special. Okay. And yeah, some axles are connected that way. So the bearing is usually made into not made into, but it's fitted to the axle in such a way that it's an interference fit. So the only way you could take that bearing off of that particular axle is to either force it off using a hydraulic press, or if it's too tight for that, because there are situations where the interference fit is that tight, you could actually do what's known as an oil bath, and that would allow you, because it's a heated oil bath, I should say, so that will allow you to get the oil will travel into the bearing, get it warm enough so that you could separate it. So that's not an uncommon thing to have to do. All right, so that's off now. Let's go ahead and just do the other side. I know I'm playing this like a mechanic. I'm not playing this like a game. I could have just gone over there and taken all the suspension bits off, but again, I'm playing it like a mechanic. I want to show you kind of the thought process. And yeah, I would be doing it from this side. I probably should, just so you guys can see what's going on. Let's go ahead and take that guy off. Now, the way that they're showing this axle being attached, I don't think a DB9 is actually like that. I think they may have, it may be, it, I would love to, I need to look up the DB5 and see how that's actually done. Unless you're doing some sort of conversion. And the other thing that makes this weird is the fact that it's only one control arm. You would need something to kind of help keep. This is honestly, this is kind of close to a truck arm. In all honesty, the biggest thing is well, here, I'll show you. Once I actually take this off. Okay, fine. It must want me to take this off first. Yeah. Hopefully. Or not. Or is it wanting me to take the... Oh, there we go. So, I mean, the U-bolts... I'm trying to think back on a Chevrolet truck arm. Yeah, I think there are U-bolts, but they're showing this almost like as if it's a separate plate. Really, it'd be made into the control arm itself, and you would use U-bolts to connect it. But yeah, see, they're going to show this as a separate part. See, and it shouldn't be. It should be made into the arm. So again, I love a lot of the things this game does, but again, there are quite a few things this game doesn't do correct that I don't want to say bother me. Because again, as I explained before, there's a lot of this that we're doing, or a lot of this that this game is doing is just simply because of gamification. You know, you can't do everything correct because, you know, not only is that not only is that more assets that you have to deal with, which, you know, some people would probably argue that you should do it, and, you know, they're kind of right. But I think for the sake of making this an entertaining game, the way that these guys have done the whole mechanics simulator part, it's not far off. And I think if you're wanting to learn a little bit about auto mechanics, this isn't a bad place to kind of start and get kind of an idea of what goes on. But just keep in mind that this is a game and not everything is correct. So let's keep going on this here while I ramble on about how correct and incorrect this game is. Like, okay, so here's something really quick. Like how it's showing me taking off this top hat. Technically there is no top hat like that. It's usually made into the chassis itself. You may have like a little rubber cap up here to kind of help keep the top of the spring from digging into the frame too much. But usually it's just a metal connection here. And you would drop the axle before you do all this too. Alright, so that's all taken care of. Excuse me. Yeah, let's go ahead and start with this guy. Wait, did we? Now, I swear I remember doing this, but maybe I didn't. Or it didn't save it. Maybe it didn't save it. But I could have swore this is one that we did. It don't matter. Just means I get to do it again. Oh, where are you? Oh, yeah, the bearing. Like, you wouldn't, again, you wouldn't take the bearing off. You would take this off. Alright, so now I want to take you off. Might as well grab you on that. Oh, sorry. Wrong thing. No, you would not pull it through the boot like that. That's if you're curious why I just pulled off. The part that's connected to the suspension member here, a knuckle is what most people would just blindly call this. That would have been the inner tie or outer tie rod, and the part that just slid out of here that shouldn't have was the inner tie rod. So let's go over here to this side, kind of show it in one piece. So yeah, this is the outer tie rod. This is the inner tie rod, and it's named for because it's on the outside of the car and the inside of the car. Now, you remember how I was talking about toe and how that's set? That this is what you're adjusting, and it doesn't show it too well here, maybe because it's supposed to show that it's damaged through the rust. But what you would do normally is you would have a sleeve of some sort here in the middle, or roughly in the middle. And what you would do is you would have two jam nuts on either side of it, or it would be a sleeve that jams everything together, and you would at least loosen that up. And as you move this intersection, either the sleeve or the center, lack of a better word, nut, around, you would increase and decrease that toe in and toe out. So as you tighten it up, kind of bringing things together, that would, as this is coming closer here, and this situation, because it's at the front of the axle, this would actually increase toe in. And as you try and separate these two items, as you turn it the other way and move this in and this in effectively opposite of each other, in this case, it would be toe out. Now, if the steering rack was behind the axle, the opposite would happen. As you make the inner and outer tie rods separate from each other, this will actually start going for a toe in, and as you pull them in, as you pull the inner tie rod in towards the inner tie rod, this will give you toe out. So where your steering rack is at will determine which way one part will turn to give you toe in and toe out adjustment. Overall, doesn't really matter. You're looking on a screen anyway. But it's just, if you're kind of curious why this being in front instead of in the back is important, that's kind of why. It's mostly down to packaging. And when you talk to some engineers, when it comes to steering feel and, keeping everything aligned correctly as you're driving straight, most of them will tell you that having the steering gear or steering assembly at the back of the axle is more accurate and stronger, I believe. Anyway, let's get back to taking this guy apart, which I think, I think I just do. Nope. Okay, must mean I need. Oh, wait. I see what it is. I need to take this guy off. That part is just simply a link. It's known as a stabilizer bar link because you see the stabilizer bar right here. In some cases, yeah, that's true. They can be connected to the lower control arm, like here, like in this case. In some stranger and odder cases, they can be connected to the upper control arm, but that's really rare and not done that often. If you have a McPherson strut, which this isn't, this is a SLA, short and long arm suspension, being shown here anyway, or a double wishbone if you want to go that route. But technically, because this arm is technically longer than this arm. It's technically short and long arm. Anyway, but a McPherson strut, where you would see something that looks like this and no upper control arm. And this would be connected to the actual steering knuckle here. This would be connected to the strut in most cases. But anyway, I'm rambling. Actually, it looks like I may need to take the strut off in this case. So let's go ahead and get that going. And again, wish it was that easy, but there would be bolts at the top that hold the strut hat on. Why they didn't do it in this case, I don't know. Again, part of that whole gamification thing I keep talking about. As far as taking it off, yeah, it could be the upper control arm. It could be that easy, but usually you have to actually drive the ball joints out, so that can make things a little bit difficult. Let's go ahead and go to the other side now. And again, I know it seems like I'm critiquing this game negatively, but I don't. I'm trying not to critique it too much. Again, I try and keep going back to my whole thought process about what this is. You know, this is a game first. It's made to be entertaining to people. It's meant to bring you enjoyment. It's not meant to teach you anything, even though it kind of does. But again, there are some simple things I do wish they would implement better. But again, it would probably make for a much more boring game, and would make it probably fairly difficult for people who are unfamiliar with auto mechanics on how all this works. All right, now I think, yeah, I have to take these out first. Now this is potentially wrong as far as like if you were going to build your subframe out like this. The bolt would actually be here at the bottom instead of at the top, because think about how you would actually reach that. Now, that's not always the case. There could be a way to reach it from the top, but it would require you to have something to hold the cradle in, or subframe in, as you're taking it apart. So, yeah, I don't think so. Normally, you would see those bolts be at the bottom. Again, I know I keep saying I don't want to overly criticize a video game for this, because it is not this particular one is not meant to be a teaching tool. But again, at the same time, I think there are things that just could have done better. It could have made this a really, really, really good teaching tool, but whatever. Let's see here. There it is. Which also means the battery is missing. Now, I do want to say I'm playing this on a controller. It looks a little fiddly for me, but that's because I can't get for some reason I can't get the sensitivity down. I still can't believe that's not separate. Anyway, I can't really get the sensitivity down once you get really close to those items. Yeah, it just, like for here it works perfect, but once you get down close to something like that, kind of makes it a pain in the butt. Let's put this engine on here. Yep, that one. Wait, what do they call this? I totally missed what they call this. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into disassembly mode. Okay. That was a fat can. Interesting. Next part I want to get is the belt. That's not on the belt for some reason. That's still not on. Okay. Is that belt enough for you? Okay, yeah, it is. Like I said, there are a few. I did modify this with a few quality of life stuff, but it still has some of its frustrations. And that's the water pump there, in case you're curious. Though you don't see the cavity in the block for some reason. Just want to make sure. So let me take the front cover off. Yeah, there it goes. There's a timing chain. If you're quite unfamiliar with an engine, that's what you're seeing right there. That chain thing is the timing chain. That's what keeps the cams up here for intake on this side and exhaust for this side in time with the crankshaft. And as you can see, this one has these little parts I'm taking off are guides. They help take out some of the slack that naturally happens in the timing system. So as you know, the engine's running, there is a little bit of slack that happens. That's an idler gear in this case because it's on the timing chain system. Again, I'm not familiar with the DB5 to say that's incorrect or that's correct or incorrect. I may have to do some research because I am legitimately curious on. Okay, that doesn't come off. How this engine actually looks on a real DB5. Okay, so now we're getting to this car. Obviously, is old, so it has a distributor, and that's what this is here. This takes the energy from the coil, which I don't think there's one on here, but it takes the energy from the coil, which is I'm going to dig in a little bit with what a coil is. It uses a falling magnetic field to increase the 12 volts that your battery produces and the roughly 13 to 14 volts your alternator produces, because that's within the battery's tolerance for charging. It takes that voltage and multiplies it, and it depends on the coil itself and how many winds it has internally, because it is a magnetic coil, just like you would probably played around with when you were in school, learning about electromagnetism and electricity. But the coil uses the property of a falling magnetic field to increase the voltage to 10 to 15,000 volts for a very brief second. Well, within a second of time. It's milliseconds when this happens and gets distributed by the distributor, as we call that, to your spark plugs here. So that's how much energy this is putting out. Now, it's so brief. If you get shocked by this, it hurts a lot. Don't ask me how I know. Just know that it hurts. And it could technically be enough to kill you if it stays there long enough. Because you got to remember, it's milliamps. It's only milliamps that will stop your heart, unfortunately. So that's another risk of being an auto mechanic, is that, you know, there are things in here that want to kill you. Mostly electronic. But yeah, that's how that technically all works. And then the distributor, okay, so that one part you just saw me take off is known as the rotor. And the cap, the other part that had to come off before that, this little rotor has a little contact, either brass or copper or I think aluminum. You may have, because aluminum is conductive enough to pass electricity through. Don't know how long it would actually last as a sparky, as a rotor piece. But anyway, that makes the contacts within the distributor cap that then send power out from those little towers you saw and out to the spark plugs. The missing thing in this is wires, and that's because this game has said, hey, this engine doesn't have wires and it's random build. This guy here is an advanced system. So this uses engine vacuum to tell the rotor to advance or get its timing a little bit more ahead or a little bit more behind, which is known as retarding. Sorry, but that's what it's literally known as, because you're actually backing the spark event off from how the engine or where the engine cylinder is within its stroke. If you go a little bit before, you can. There are various reasons why you want to go a little bit before top dead center, a little bit of reasons you may want to go after top dead center. The combustion chamber may not get enough fuel and air atomized or pulled in enough until it potentially starts squeezing all of that fuel and gas in. So you may want to just wait and wait and wait until the very last second, possibly as the piston just starts to go down. That is R-ing the timing of the ignition. So this is what's setting the ignition timing right here. You can also set this by just moving it yourself. But this is essentially an automated version without needing a computer. So it uses engine vacuum to essentially tell it to advance, or, the other thing. Now, remember I was talking about the falling wave and all that. This is also, there's a little, believe it or not, there's a cam in this system that this is based off, that is made to this little shaft here that opens and closes this little guy here. And that's actually where your spark is coming from. So when you open this up, if I'm remembering this correctly, because it's been forever since I've actually dealt with a distributor vehicle, at least in this technical sense. But when this opens up, when this gaps out, that is when that falling the electromagnetically give myself tongue tied here. Anyway, this is when the coil triggers. So when this opens up a gap, there is a spark gap that is set here. That's what triggers the falling magnetic effect in the coil. That sends that power out to the rotor, that little piece that was right here, and then out to the cap and the spark plugs here. I'm trying to recall if that's correct. At least how that falling magnetic field works. That's what I was trying to think of earlier too. The falling magnetic field, I think, is triggered by when this opens and creates a spark gap. I want to say that's what I'm trying to remember, because that's how you make this. It's essentially the same way that a stun gun works. When you see people make the little arcing plasma things, like the plasma channel, for example, you notice that there's a gap, and a lot of those use automotive coils. But I believe that's what triggers the falling magnetic field to create that boost in electrical power. I think this opening up to create a spark gap is what causes that. correct me in the comments. I believe if there are comments, but I want to say that's how that actually works. Again, just trying to recall from off the top of my head. And I was trying to actually scroll over to look at Twitch, see if anybody was telling me, no, you're wrong. I don't think I'm wrong on that, but I can't say with 100% certainty that I'm correct on that, on how that works. That's what sounds correct in my head. But I won't say that is correct. Now, all right, going back to something else here, something I do know a little bit more of because that still remains here in the modern age. This is a crude camshaft, but a camshaft nonetheless. Again, this is the intake side because you can see the carburetors here, so that's a good hint that this is the intake side. The other part here is the exhaust because those are exhaust manifolds. It's really just that really simple. Oh, that may be why I can't take the distributor out right now. Maybe you want me to take the camshaft out. Anyway, so let's go ahead and take this. What will want me to take off? Well, let me take off the other cam cover here. So if you've never messed with like a 2JZ, each cam getting a cover like this, that's not unusual. A lot of overhead cam, because that's what this is. This is an overhead cam engine, and that's what a 2JZ is. If you weren't familiar for some reason, but that's what OHC stands for, overhead cam. In this case, it is a dual overhead cam, so DOHC. That means there are two cams because it's double overhead cam. Can you have more than two cams? Sure, but there aren't many that do that. You may have, if you're familiar with Volkswagen, you know that they had 5 valves. Ford had a 5 valve for a while, but its 5th valve. Now on the Volkswagen, I think it was mechanically triggered by the camshaft. On the Ford 5 valve, it was electronically triggered. And if I'm trying to recall, I don't think it was a solenoid. Where it was a solenoid, but I think it still used oil to do it. I have to look back on that. But Ford doesn't use that system anymore. It was another way to try and make their engines a little more fuel efficient, because you could have a valve open when you needed it to. So if you need a little bit more power, you can open it up. But if you need a little bit less, or was it only intake? Again, I have to research that. I think it was on the intake. Yes, it was on the intake. So if you needed more power, you can open that 5th valve up. But if you didn't need all that power and you're trying to save fuel, then you could just keep it closed. I believe that's how that worked. Unfortunately, when that engine came out, I was no longer working at a Ford dealership, so I don't have a ton of familiarity with that particular 5 valve. And again, it's not like it's around anymore. I don't even think. I think it was around for one generation of F-150, and then it went away. And yeah, I do wish PB Blaster worked that quick. It doesn't. Also, if you have a stuck bolt like that, another way to get the thread solution is to use candle wax. You just burn a candle and drop some wax on it, and that can help break up some of the rust that develops, usually at the top of the thread. But if it goes any deeper, then you need a proper penetrant like PB Blaster. But yeah, candle wax can be used to help remove a stuck bolt due to some rust. Yeah, that's what it needed me to do. Okay, that kind of makes sense. You could technically remove the distributor without taking the cam gear off. Why they did it that way in this game, I don't know. There we go. So these are the carburetors. If you're not familiar with them, don't feel bad. We've not used carburetors in several decades now. I think the last few that had a proper carburetor died off in the 80s. I think there were some trucks that were still using carburetors, but yeah, by the time 1990 rolled around, nothing had a carburetor. It was all fuel injected at that point. It may have been simplified fuel injection with like a TBI system that was basically a more complicated carburetor. But this is the analog way of metering fuel. And what do I mean by that? There is no electronic anything inside of a carburetor. It's all metered by how much air the engine is pulling in, along with how much throttle you're adding and how much that the needles allow fuel to go through. So if you ever heard somebody jetting a carburetor, or ironically, the carburetor part of my name is from a European term for doing what we would call a jetting run. They would call it a carburetor run. I didn't know that when I made this name, by the way. I learned about it later. But that's what they're doing. They're doing runs up and down the road, trying to see, okay, is my jetting correct? Is it working for what I need? So that's what that came from. And the jetting, this game, unfortunately, doesn't allow you to really get granular with carburetor tuning. You just basically throw one off and one on. But inside of here, there's a needle and a jet. Though this one is a side draft, so it may not. Yeah, it still has a needle and jet, but it works a little bit differently. Anyway, this is technically a type of carburetor. You're probably more familiar, if you are familiar with a carburetor, you're probably more familiar with something that's like on a typical V8 hot rod or dragster or something, where it's something that sits on top of the engine. But obviously, this being an inline, it needs to sit somewhere, and it's usually here on either a single manifold, intake manifold, and it has a carburetor sitting on top, or in the case of high performance vehicles, they would have a carburetor for each pair of cylinders, or really getting down into the weeds, they would have an ITB, or ITB is individual throttle body, but essentially ITBs came from carburetors like these side drafts. So each carburetor is metered for each cylinder, whereas, like going back to that first example with really cheaper vehicles at the time would have a single carburetor feeding all 6 cylinders. These can get down to where you're individually metering the fuel going in for each cylinder. So let's go ahead and pop these guys off. And like I said, unfortunately, it doesn't really get down into the granular of restoring a carburetor like I would love for it to do. But anyway, those are carburetors. So let's go ahead and take this head off now. Kind of disturbing the fact that there was no bolts coming off of that head. That was just weird. It should have been bolts connected to the head. Anyway, let's go ahead and pop the rest of this off. So, hey, now you're supposed to go. Oh, yeah, that's right. I have to take the throw-out bearing out first. So, a throw-out bearing is literally a bearing that sits on the input shaft, and that's what's if you're wondering what you're moving when you move the clutch pedal, that's what you're moving, is that throw-out bearing. How that works is these little fingers here. When you push in on the clutch, it pushes in on the throw-out bearing, going in towards the center of the engine. Let's call it that way just to make it easier. And when you do that, these fingers lift up the friction pads that are inside of here, and allow the engine to basically just freewheel. So let's go ahead and take that out. And that's the friction pad that I'm talking about right there. This is just sitting here. And until you let off the clutch pedal, which then releases those fingers, the engine is disconnected from the transmission. That's how the clutch works. And this, they're showing this clutch as having a cavity like that. Usually it's a flat plate. The way they're doing this is kind of more like a Volkswagen, like an old Beetle. It has a recessed flywheel like that, and frankly, kind of a pain. Let's see, how do I rotate this? There's a way of rotating the engine. No, come on, let me rotate it. Oh, maybe it's, no? Here we go. You have to hit, in my case, again, I'm playing by controller, so you have to click on the engine with the A button, hit the Y button, and then go into this little sub menu. And that's where you can rotate the engine. All right. Now we're going to get into the part that makes an engine an engine. And these are the pistons and crankshaft. So the first part I'm going to be pulling off of here are the way that the pistons are retained to the crankshaft. So what this is known as is a connecting rod, and these are the rod caps I'm pulling off. Trying to pull off. And those are what, it's this single connection. And yes, it is usually only 2 bolts. And this cap and the mechanical connection that you're seeing here, that's all that's really holding your piston to the crankshaft. And when you think about that for a moment, it makes you realize just how amazing that little part is. Because every time this rotates, there's a force being applied to that connecting rod and that cap that it's like, it can be, I mean, think about how much torque your engine is putting out. It's usually about that. No, it can be thousands of pounds more, actually, of force that's being applied to that cap. And just to think that only 2 bolts are retaining that, it's kind of amazing in a way. All right, so now all of that is off. Let's go ahead and pull this. What? Am I missing something? There's no. What am I missing? I don't think I need to pull the pistons out. Does the game make me want to pick the pistons out? Let's try it. If it is, that's kind of a sad state of affairs here. All right. Yep, that's what it was. It wanted me to take the pistons out. Why? All right, so that's the engine disassembled. All right, let's go into the slightly less realistic part about this game. And that is the restoration area. Yeah, okay. I remember doing this the other day. I'm guessing it didn't save when I exited last week. Oh, well. But again, you can kind of see the gamification of the repair that we're doing here. Again, it's not bad. I mean, it is what it is. So this is all the body work. I'm surprised it wasn't part of the glass, because I think some of the glass wasn't all that great. let's go ahead and throw that on the lathe. All right, good. I mean, don't get me wrong. This little game can be a challenge. But as you can see, I've been in this long enough that it doesn't really take much to do these repairs anymore. I have a really high chance of doing a 100% success, like right there. Almost makes you wonder if I shouldn't have restarted to a new game where I didn't have any of this. But at the same time, there's still stuff that I kind of want to do with this with y'all to kind of again show some of the neat parts about being an auto mechanic. And there, again, I wouldn't necessarily restore a lot of what they're getting me to restore. A lot of this would just be replacement. Like that axle, or the axle housing, I should say. Yeah, I probably would. Um, Restoring a brake like this, possibly, but new brakes are pretty cheap. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, you would probably pay more to do a restoration like that on a brake caliper than just buying a new brake. That I would probably just buy new. This one I'll probably buy new because who knows how straight that really is. Same thing with a knuckle. Yeah, it is interesting, but it's kind of fun. Yeah. Oh, I'm just messed up because I'm not paying attention. Steering rack. Um, Depends on the rarity. If it's not super rare, then yeah, I would probably buy it new. But if it had if it was a rare part, yeah, I would probably try and do what I can to restore it. Frame, yeah, I'd probably get new, most because I don't know how to truly straighten out a frame. That's not an easy thing to do. Now, as far as what could be restored on a manifold, these are usually cast iron, especially old ones like this. It's rare you find anything made from from a factory that's not cast iron on an engine like this. Um, if it had like a hole in it, you can weld cast iron. You have to do it properly though. That's the biggest pain in the butt. Um, if you're curious on what that requires, I think this old Tony has a good explanation on welding cast iron, and he explains why those are issues. Now these clips that they're showing for the distributor cap, yeah, that would be something I would just replace. They're just spring caps or spring metal. They're not expensive. Now here's the cap. Now you see those brass colored dots going around the perimeter? Those are the points where the rotor, which you'll see next, make contact with. The center post is where the coil comes in. So that's where you get the energy from to send power to the spark plugs. So there's the rotor. Crap, it went way too fast. Now, camshaft. You could technically restore a camshaft. I know people that do. Um, if you had to add material to it, that is possible to do. A-bomb does that for a lot of stuff, for a lot of shaft and stuff like that. Things that have to rotate. He does do this metal sputtering technique on his lathe, and then he grinds that away. Well, not really grinds, but he um, machines that a way to recreate a surface for something like a bearing or anything like that. Camshaft, I think you could technically do the same thing, but it will require you to have a camshaft grinder. That's what actually sets the duration and the lift of the lobes. So yeah, you as a repair shop wouldn't be doing this. Even as a restoration shop, you're probably not doing this. You're probably ordering a new cam from a cam builder, so like somebody like Comp Cams or Edelbrock or practically anybody. Now you can restore a carburetor. There's usually just seals that go bad. You can also rejet it. There's complete carburetor kits. Again, the game doesn't really show that. Something I really wish it would show. Took a drink of water there. I'm sure this is riveting entertainment for y'all, but this is part of the process they make you go through to do these restorations and repairs. Main caps, again, you could repair these. Yeah, it take a little. You could do if you have a machine shop, you probably could, but really, if there's anything wrong with it, you would have to actually machine it along with the block. You wouldn't just be repairing a bearing cap or even a rod cap for that matter. What I just did. These would require a lot more work than what this is obviously portraying. Same thing with the crankshaft, and yeah, so you would need a full machine shop to really do something like that properly. So get that back on there now. I don't think there's anything. Yeah. So now it's just doing the brake rotors. Do. Let's go through. Yeah, I never opened that case. I should open that case. Yay. Okay. Alright, so these are the parts that I won't be able to do again, or do any repairs to. They're unfortunately too worn, according to the game. So actually, I'm kind of surprised it didn't let me do any repairs on this. Yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of stuff that didn't let me do any. Oh, yeah, I got to separate those. Oh, along with the suspension. Oh, here's something kind of fun that I didn't get to show in the last one. How do you separate a spring from the rest of the strut? Well, it's a device like this. This is a device that you use to compress the spring. Let me go get that rotor real quick since it's done. Anyway, you can use this device to compress the spring, and that's kind of legitimately how that works. So as you see, it compresses the spring, and now you can take the top hat off on the strut. Usually there's a bolt here in the center that just holds this whole cap together. And what this will do is it'll make sure you don't kill yourself as the spring pops off. Never fun. Fortunately, I've never had that happen Yes, that was me knocking on wood. So as you can see, yeah, there we go. It compresses the spring. It kind of does a little bit opposite of what I would normally see. But yeah, it just compresses the spring so that way all of that tension from that spring is removed so you can take the parts apart. Oh, shoot. Hit the microphone again. Now we can go to the tires. I showed this on the other one. So let's separate those parts. Again, it's still kind of cool to me. This does show how to remove a tire mostly accurately. Again, it really surprised me how much Auto Mechanic Simulator gets right, but how much it doesn't get right. All right, so that's done. Let's go see what parts I can repair now. Okay, so nothing here. How about here? So you can restore the rims. Technically, yes, but again, if you for something like this, yeah, you probably would make the effort to repair this wheel because it is an original wheel. Now, what would you be repairing? I believe you could actually tighten those spokes if they're real spokes. I believe they are. Um, you could straighten out the barrels. That's something you would take to a wheel shop that could do it. But if there are any cracks or anything like that, that's you can technically repair it, but man, that's a lot of work and a lot of trust. Now, I will appreciate this game for doing this. It ghosts in parts that you need. So, I think there's a way to make. Da, 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 da. There's a way of making a shopping list. I don't remember how to do it. Alright, so. That's how it is. So, yeah, you just add to the list so you can add new parts to the list when you need it. Turns out I have a high performance alternator in my inventory, but I'm gonna do the regular alternator because why not? Yeah, you wouldn't really. You could install it during this portion of the installation process, but I wouldn't because it's backwards. Looks like none of the pistons got restored, so those are too far gone apparently. So I need some of those. Do I have a good fuel filter? No, so that's got to get added to the list as well. Shopping list, add. Alright. Yeah, good, I have those. Actually, the more I think about it, I may have new pistons in storage. Another thing I kind of wish this game would do is that if you have parts in your storage, or in your warehouse, I think is what they put it as. It should allow you to grab it from there, but I don't think this one does. Yeah, like I'm pretty sure I have pistons and rings in here. Oops. Yeah, I got plenty of rings. Oh, they're specific. That's probably why I don't have. Like, I know I've got this guy. Not sure which coil I will need for that. That's for a 4-cylinder. Yeah, so I'll probably have to buy a few things here. So this I need, I'm pretty sure. Let's grab a couple of these just in case. Alright, looks like that's all I got. So yeah, I'll have to buy. Shopping list. I don't need that. Don't need that. Do need this. Let's buy that. Piston Conrad. I need 6 of those. Fuel filter. And then okay, so search piston. There we go, piston rings. One, two, three, four, five, six. I think that's it for now. Put you and you together. Now, do I have enough connecting rod caps? Well, at least right now. And next cap. Now, in real life, you would be torquing these down. Ah. Alright, since it's being a pain in the butt, I'm going to grab my mouse for just a second. Okay, so I will say this. I do appreciate the fact that if you need mouse control, you can do it, but you can always switch back. So that's definitely a nice feature. At least as far as gameplay goes. Anyway, what I was saying is you normally would be torquing these down. How much depends on the manufacturer. Oops. There is no specific torque fitting or torque setting for something like this. If you don't know what it is, it's best obviously not to guess. Because tightening something too tight can cause all kinds of issues as well. Even on something on a wheel, you're technically supposed to tighten them to a specific spec. But that spec is somewhat generalized. Usually about 80 to 90 foot-pounds is enough on something like a wheel. But that's not always true. So don't always do that. Always consult whatever manual you can find. Ooh, I do not have that. Okay. Add to the list. So consult a manual when you can't, if you don't know something, consult a manual. So let's go back to shopping list. Ah, there it is. I will say I do appreciate that shopping list feature. It makes things so much easier. Did I get the fuel filter? Oh, yeah, I did. A little early to add it. You should be waiting for that, but whatever. Oh, new flywheel. Oh, that is not what I meant. No, yeah, there we go. I do. This is where I would appreciate being able to just quickly, grab a button and go into mount mode. Why it's not like that, I don't know. Like, going to this menu here or the shop here, it's as easy as me hitting X. Actually, now that I think about it, I'm gonna need that, huh? Oh, crap! I have one. Oh well, but I don't have a pressure plate. How do I not have a pressure plate? Anyway, shopping list, add, hit the X button, open shopping list. There it is. Yeah, there we go. And yeah, I'm going to need that. Ow! I keep forgetting I have stuff. Oh well. I think that's it. So let's rotate you around to make things easier. Alright, and let's go back to part mounting. Alright. Fortunately, I remember I had the head. Did I have the manifold? Yes. Again, I wouldn't be installing the manifold at this point. I would be doing the camshafts first. But it's whatever. Alright, so I need that. Oh, is that because... Might be under electronics. That might be why. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, kind of weird. It kind of makes sense, but it's kind of weird. Because that is technically an electronic part, but it's also mechanical. So, I don't know. But here's the rotor. Now, before I go into that, see that little brass piece here? You can kind of see from this little ghosting here. Again, this is where the coil would send its power to. It would follow this little strap here. Well, not really strap, but anyway, it follows this trace to this piece here on the end of the rotor. And this is pretty big, but I don't know. I guess it is sized correctly for this particular model. But you can see that it makes contact with that tower, that little round pad that you see there. So let's go ahead and pop these little clips on. Yeah, some of these are, and yes, some of these are held in by little spring clips like this. That's not unusual. What is unusual is repairing them and having them separate. Usually these are clipped onto the distributor body itself. Oh, you know what? I need spark plugs. And let's go here. I need 6 of those. Need my granular control here. I do appreciate it. I do appreciate the game lets me do that. Again, going to mouse control and then going to my my controller here. So that's really nice that I can do that. All right, so I'm pretty sure wires. Yep, they are considered part of the electronic shop. And this one's kind of weird. I don't think you would see a tube like that. By the way, those are the valves. By the way, if you're curious, what I'm looking at right there. Um, I wouldn't see a tube like that. I think these would just be straight wires, and those wires, like I said, connect. Let's go to this side to the distributor cap right here. So that's again the rotor makes contact with the posts on those little buttons you saw on the underside of the cap. That then sends that electricity. Again, that's about 10 to 12,000 volts or more down these wires and onto your spark plugs. And that is what's part of what causes the combustion event in your engine. But let's go back into part mount mode. And let's go ahead and install camshaft. And why not? Good, that's good. Oh, I need camshaft caps. Oh, frick. So that's going to be under car parts. Now, how many of these do I need? I know there is at least, I think it was 2 per cylinder. So let's go 12. Let's hope I'm right. Actually, I may have gotten too many. It was 4 per brake, so it would only needed 8. Oh well. Which, actually, I think I may have been correct. I think there should be like 1 or 2 more on the real engine. I wouldn't be surprised if I needed 12 in real life. Now, on some of these camshafts or these cam uh, retainers here, the caps. I don't know why I couldn't think of cap anyway. There are some that are done in a girdle system, which means there's usually like it's not just a cap. There's usually the caps are all connected as one piece. And the real way, you see, I'm putting this in linearly, so I'm putting it 1, 2, 3, each in a row. The reality is, you would start with the center two. So you do here, here, as far as the bolts go. You here, 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 and here, and then you go out to the outside ones. And the reason you want to do that is because, believe it or not, this cam is actually under quite a bit of stress, at least as far as how it's mounted. So if you install this one and this one, and then this one, there's a good potential that you can snap this camshaft. Now, again, you want to consult your manual or previous experience, but if you don't remember how something goes, always start in the center. So tighten in the center, loosen in the center, because more than likely the natural twist and stress will be more easily relieved. But again, if you can find a manual, consult that rather than go with your gut. So let's go ahead. Oh, I need cam gears. Ah, not that. So let's add that to the list. That's going to be mechanical. I need 2 of those. Put those on. Oh, you know what I might need? I might need a timing chain. Reality is, you would do a new timing chain regardless. Like that. This is again something you wouldn't restore. This is something you would replace. All right, so probably need that idler gear too. Let's see. Yep, I was correct. I need the idler gear, and that's mechanical. So guess what? Oh, they just call that cam gear. Really, this is really an idler gear. All right, so let's go ahead and get these tensioners because I don't remember restoring the tensioners. Go here, open my list. Okay. They consider these the same. They're really not. Each side would be different. At least I would think each side would be different. I don't know. I guess it's possible you could do one guide that would fit both ends, but that doesn't seem right to me. All right. And do I need a water pump? No, I got one. Good. So was this? Okay, so I need that. Was this any good? No, it was not. Also, okay, so you see these little teeth on the outside of uh, the harmonic balancer here? On this particular engine, that wouldn't be there because technically, a harmonic balancer with these teeth like this, that's for electronic ignition. That's how it would do its timing. So that's kind of wrong. Again, for the sake of this game, it's okay, but really, those teeth on the outside would be the signal for a little sensor to know where the crankshaft is in its rotation. Do need that belt because I know that didn't get restored. But again, it would be something not normally restored anyway. And then I think the fan got restored. Yes, it did. I'm losing track on what I restored and what I didn't. Yes, okay. I was thinking the carburetors got restored. Now we can put the cam covers on. I wonder if they're going to put a cover over the spark plugs. They might. No, they don't. Interesting. There's even little holes there for them. That's strange. Ah, I see where they're. Gotcha. Okay, so I need. I put the old filter on. Let's go ahead and go back to part mount. That I need to get. Should be here. Is that it? Okay, on dismount mode. Let's just go through here real quick, see if there's anything ghosting out on me. Surprisingly, no coil. So might get mounted in the car. Alright. Well, that looks good. Let's grab this next guy. How do I dismount the engine? Huh. Oh, I think I just do this. And now I should be able to just install the engine. Maybe once I put the cradle in. Okay. Or do I put this? Maybe I'll put this in my inventory. No. Ah, there we go. Take engine off stand. I am now physically holding this engine. I don't know how, because it weighs a ton. But that can go in now. Alright. Not the assemble mode that I want. There we go. Now let's see here. No, I still don't see anywhere to mount a coil. That's interesting. Huh. Anyway. So let's go ahead and get this car up. Let's go ahead and move this. By the way, the engine wouldn't really be able to hold there because there's no mounts holding it. While it could be part of the subframe, I do suppose it would be possible to put the engine mounts on the unibody frame that's being simulated here, for lack of a better word. All right. Ah, there we go. Ooh, I wonder if that's why I didn't see anything. Yeah, that's why I didn't see that. Okay, no problem. Rubber bushing is what they're calling that. Alright, so let me go get several rubber bushing. Oop, wrong way. Oops. I have no idea what I just took. No idea. 2, 3, 4, because I'm pretty sure I need 4 of those anyway. Let's go. Actually, let's grab all of those just in case. No, it's not engine parts I'm looking for. I do need these. I'm pretty sure it's sway bar in link A. I need 2 of these. Those are small rubber bushings. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's get 12 for now. I need 2 of these, I know. I don't know which rear shock absorber I need right now, so let's go back to here. Part mount mode. Yep, put you on. Put you on. Yeah, here we go. I couldn't see my mouse, or couldn't see my little indicator here. And then I can put you granular control. Yeah, there we go. Alright, do I have this pipe? I don't remember having this pipe. I don't have that pipe. Okay. And I don't have the pipe either. Okay. So, add. Same thing with you. Add. Go over here. Shopping list. Yep. There we go. Cool. Transmission. Was it good? Yes. Alright, need a starter. Just add it to the list. Oh, maybe that's how I do it. So this one I know is going to be electrical. And yes, I just confirmed to myself that's how I do it. I hit the little 2 pictures button, for lack of a better word, on my controller. An old starter like this probably would need to be shimmed. And old Chevrolets need to be shimmed. And that's so you can make sure that the Bendix, that's where that name comes from, by the way. But the Bendix is the little gear you'll see that sticks out behind this little cover and engages with the flywheel. And that's how the starter works. I think that's it. Do I have these? That's the next question. I do, but they're junk. Okay. Go over to... Oh, yeah. Duh. Go back to here. Go back to regular car parts. Yep. That's in. Let's go to y'all. Alright, so I need that one. Let's go ahead and call for both of them. And get this guy. Do I need a fuel tank? Yes, I do. Oh. Do a search. There's a fuel tank. Now, how much you want to bet? Yeah, figured. So this is portraying a electronic fuel pump. Again, another part that's pretty much not correct for this particular car. I know it isn't, because I know that, and this car is too old to have an electronic fuel pump. More than likely, this would be a mechanical fuel pump located on the engine. So, which I believe that's going to be electrical. No, it's not. What? Okay. So maybe it's just regular car parts then. I would have thought for sure that was regular, or that would have been electronic, but it's not. Which is kind of strange considering what they consider electronic. Anyway, but as you can see, that's an electronic fuel pump. Same fuel pump, or a similar looking fuel pump to what you probably have in your own vehicle. But again, not always. It's not always going to look just like that. But a car this old is going to have a mechanical fuel pump. If I get a chance to show that off in this game, I will. But I don't think so. At least not with the 2 cars I have in to pull from. Were these springs still good? No, they weren't. Okay, so I need new springs. Okay, yeah, I need those too. Well, I might as well make it 2. Was this any good? Yes, it is good. Makes things easier. Alright, and I think I pulled some of these out. Yes, I did. And was this any good? Yes. Good. Was this any good? Yes. Was this plate any good? Yes, good. I might need U-boats. No, I got 2. So I can at least install a couple of them here. But I'm going to need 2 more U-bolts, and I think I have those in my warehouse. So let's pull out of here for a minute. Oh. Go in here. It's going to be under, suspension parts. Where are you, U-bolts? Oh, might be because I'm in the wrong tab. Yeah, there we go. Now I'm in warehouse. U-bolts. Alright, takes care of that. We go back into part mount. Put you on. Oh, that's the other thing I forgot to put in there. It's a bushing. So let's just go ahead and pop these on real quick. And then I can put that bushing in. And of course, grabbing plenty of those bushings, so that's good news. Whoops. It is shock absorber B. I've got that in the warehouse. I remember seeing that now. Let's go here. Switch tab. Switch the right tab thing. Rear shock absorber B. Need 2 of those. Oh, while I'm here. Was my drive shaft still good? Yes, it was. Okay, so that's not entirely accurate there. This would more than likely be a spline sliding shaft that goes into the transmission. Again, not necessarily 100% wrong, but I don't think so in this case. Alright, let's go back to the rear, finish that off. Just bring myself a little bit closer here. So let's go ahead and install that rear spring. I just realized that rear spring is dead. So I need rear springs. Okay. Which I think I have rear springs, so I should be able to just go to my warehouse. Okay. Actually, yeah, let me go to warehouse. I'm pretty sure I have those rear springs. So switch. Oh, hey, I can grab. Oh, that's a. I think those are struts. Yeah. Okay. But this is the one I'm looking for. So let's see where else. I thought I had rear springs, but apparently I do not. Okay, rear springs. Let's go here. Don't know why it's saying 4, but whatever. I only need 2. I can delete these. And yeah, I can delete that too. Okay. And I should have these. Yes. right. Almost done. Need to put this guy on. And the axle shaft. Brake pads. I need brake pads. I need 4 of those. So switch. And let's go over to, yep. 4 of those. Alright. And let's see, where can I go next? Yeah, I can go here next. Go ahead and install this rotor. Oh, back when I was talking last week about rotors, there's vented and solid. This is a solid rotor, by the way. As you can see, there's no vents between the 2 surfaces. Rear brakes, you don't really need them. They don't usually heat up enough to warrant that need. All right. And then drop out of that. Put you on. Put you together. Yes. Might need another brake piston. Let me grab these. Let me just grab 2 just in case. Alright, so let's go ahead and... Ooh, were you still any good? No, so I need you. Yes, okay. Let's go ahead and put you on then. The tie rods, were they any good? No, we need those. I actually need 2 of those. Alright, 1, 2. Why'd I do that? I don't know. Car parts. Now I can install those 2 new ones. Might as well install that. Even though that's not how I would do it. Okay, yeah, I need those. So I need 2 of these. Was this any good? I don't remember. Yes, it was good. And same thing for the lower control arm. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, cool. Oh, I leveled up. What are you talking about? I have the necessary parts for that. Yeah, so I need sway bar links. Okay, so the sway bar links I grabbed are not correct. So why is that not... That makes no sense. Why do I not have... Weird. Yeah, might as well just add that to it. Okay, good. That's good at least. Put you on. Oh, I need 1 of these. That bearing. Do I need a bearing? No, I got a bearing. Good. And then the bearing cap. Okay, good. I know I have this rotor. I have these. I have you. Good. I'm kind of glad I grabbed 1 more. Alright, so shopping list. I need 2 of these. I need 2 of these. Huh. I might as well grab 2 of those then. I think I only need 1 of those. Problem is, I'm pretty sure I'm going to need that spring then. I need a spring. Okay. Clear search. Search. Front. SPR. There we go. Grab 2 of those. Does that mean I also... Is there some... Oops. Not what I need. Trying to see if there's some sort... Yes, there we go. Front shock absorber cap. Need 2 of those. Okay. There we go. Take off and join parts. Alright, now that can go. Now, I should be able to practically finish this car off. Well, no. I will need wheels and tires. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I need wheels and tires. Water. Alright. Now I can go over to the other side. Alright, yeah, good. Couldn't remember if I installed the frame bushings, but apparently I have. Okay. Inner tie rod. Knuckle. Outer tie rod. Alright. Let's go ahead and install this lower control arm, because why not? Oh, I need more bushings. Okay, let me go the right way, first of all. Anyway. And need to switch tab. And oops, wrong thing. I need, what was I just thinking of? The bushings. Am I on bush? Actually, I may need a wheel bearing now I think about it. And a cap, just in case. Oh, here we go. Oh, I might be out of bushings. I am out of bushings. Okay. Open shopping list. Oh, I did not make a list. Did not make that list. Okay. Oh, there we go. So let's grab 2 of those at least. I think that's all I need. Yep. Yep, I only needed 2. Go ahead and put you on. Let's put you on. That goes there. That goes there. And then this bushing goes on. And a little cap. Again, this is a vented rotor. So you can see those little vents that are in there. And that's what kind of makes the difference between a solid and a vented rotor. Okay, good. And now it's just down the wheels. Okay. Okay, so the wheels are good. I need tires. So 175/85 R16. Alright, so let's go with a So you need 4 of these. Oh shoot, I forgot what size already. Yeah, I'm gonna write this down. This is where I would do my pen. No, I'll just use a pencil. And I will say this for anyone paying attention: never ever be afraid of writing things down. I don't care what somebody tells you. Oh, you should have this memorized. No, write it down. And if somebody complains, tell them, too bad, this is how I work. Get over it. So 175. So that one, okay, this is a good thing to talk about. If you're unfamiliar with how your tires are sized, this is how this works. So that first number, that 175, that is your tire's effective width in millimeters. I know we're Americans. This is one of the few things we normally work with in millimeters. It's weird. So that's 175. So it's 175 millimeters wide. What is that English? I say English. So waiting for my one. Darn it. 175 millimeter, 2 inches. That is almost 7 inches. So that's 175 millimeters, or almost 7 inches, and then that 85 that you see there, that is the height of your sidewall. Looking at from one portion of it. We'll finish writing this down real quick. Okay, so the 85 part, if you look at this, that 85 is 85% of your tread width. So that is in reference to this part of the sidewall, not the whole tire, just this part of the sidewall, one portion of it. So 175, and you're going 85% of that tread width. So if we were to do that, so let's go with that 7 inches. That's 85%. So it would be about 6 inches tall. Not quite. It would be a little bit short, but it would be about 6.95 inches tall. 85%. I think. Yeah. And then the 16, that is the rim or wheel diameter. Or no, yeah, diameter. So from here to here. That's what that 16 means. So you see here R16. The R just means radius or means radial. That's what these tires are now. Radial tires. No, I'm sorry. R. I'm not sure what the R means in 16 because the 16 is the diameter, not the radius. So I'm not sure what that R actually means. And maybe it does reference radial, but you also, no, you don't. No, actually, vintage tires, you don't do it by the wheel radius. There is a different measurement for them, and it's based off of the sidewall height, I believe. That or the tread width. I have to look that up again. Anyway, let's get some tires. I want to have the regular sidewall. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoops. So it's a 16. The width was 175. And the profile, again, that's the sidewall height that they're referencing here, is 85 in our case. Boy, I wish it was that cheap to buy 4 tires. I know I'm getting a 15% discount because of this game, but damn, even to get tires at $600 for 4, and they're good vintage tires, like the restoration tires you get from like Coker or somebody. Man, I wish I could get tires that cheap. Anyhow, let's go ahead and install some of these tires in. All right. So let's do my technician trick. And let's go ahead and install. And then let's do this. Balance. All right. So now we can take you off. Take you off. Put you on here. Let's go ahead and install. Balance. Take you off. Take you off. Put you on. And final wheels install. And let's balance you. About missed. Alright. You can go. You can come with me. And be put on here. Now let's balance you out. And job done. And yeah, that's actually how I would do this in real life. So as I'm mounting this, I'm letting the tire go and be balanced. Once I have this mounted, I can come over here, balance, put the weights on, rebalance it, pull this one off, put the next tire on, see if this one's good. If it's good, pull it off, put this mounted tire on, so forth. Again, when you're working a job shop, that's how you have to think. Alrighty. Now, this being a European car, it is probably accurate the fact that this one will probably have wheel bolts on it. But that's not necessarily the case. There are some European cars that have lugs and studs, but normally they are wheel bolts like you're seeing here. Alright, so that's the whole underside of the car taken care of. So now we can drop it down and work on finishing up the rest of the engine. Or engine bay, not engine. Yep, I need a battery. I know I need that guy. I think I restored that, so that should be good. So let's try it. Yes, it did. Good. Were these any good? Yep, okay, good. Alright. I will end up needing one more relay from the looks of it. No, I got enough. Good. Yep, because that one's nice. Again, I kinda do wish this would pull from my warehouse by default instead of me carrying this on my quote-unquote person. Also, that's a lot of 100 amp fuses. Yeah, okay. That is kind of weird to see all kinds of 100 amp fuses like that. That's really unusual. Is there anything else? I don't think so. Oops. There we go. It's going to be almost all electrical in this case. So, battery. Nope, brake servo's not going to be on here. And the fuse box cover. So that will probably be, yeah, there it is. Alright. Alright, RAC on the radiator. Battery. Yep, near radiator. I need coolant. Do I have a coolant bottle by chance? Or not coolant bottle. I think that's yeah, it's a windshield washer reservoir. That's what it is. So let's go ahead and get those. Anything else? I don't think so. All right. Wait, where's the power? Oh, this might. They may be thinking this is manual steering, not power steering. I'm pretty sure this one had power steering. Well, anyway, let's go back into the fluid fill situation. So let's go ahead and fill this up. And you don't necessarily want to put straight radiator fluid in like this, depending on your climate. Overfill. You would want to do it mostly by 50-50. But again, that's not necessarily true either. If you're in a colder climate, you would probably do closer to 60-40, where you have more coolant than you do water. If you're in a warmer climate like here in California, you can get away with doing 60-40 with water. But again, it's something you should try and consult with your manual if you don't know. But again, typically 50-50 is enough for almost anywhere. But if you're in a place that's colder, you want to go with a 60-40, mostly with coolant. If you're in a place like here, you want to do 60-40, mostly in a place mostly with water. All right, so let's go ahead and fill this guy up. Again, I really appreciate this little mod I did because it lets me see this min-max line. So let's... Whoop. A little over, but it's okay. Like, if it's a little bit over like that, that's not really going to kill anything. In fact, I would actually need to probably overfill this on this case, because the next process in replacing this brake master cylinder here would be to do a brake bleed. Again, this game doesn't simulate that, which that part I'm actually kind of surprised they don't simulate, because you could make that into a nice little gimmicky mini game, but they chose not to this time. Who knows why? Sorry, I'm just reading through some messages. Anyhow, yeah, so that's good. Oh, we could go ahead and fill the engine with oil. So now here, this is going to be a little bit difficult to tell unless you know how much oil your vehicle needs, which you can find out. There are ways of finding that information out pretty easily. But what you would do is you would take and pull out your dipstick here. And technically, I would call that okay. If it's on the hash mark, that's more than enough. But let me add just a little bit more oil just to be on the safer side here. Not much more. I'd say that's enough. Yeah, a little more. All right, let's see what this is saying now. Oops. All right, granular control. Oh yeah, that's plenty. So you don't want to try and go above that max line, because again, it's not horrible, but really you don't want to do it. You could get into a point where there's potentially too much pressure within your oiling system, and things that aren't supposed to be oiled are getting oiled. It could also potentially bypass seals and stuff like that and just cause a whole mess. So your best bet is to keep it within the hash marks. Don't go above the max line. If you do go above the max line, you would have to drain the oil. But if you have a way of getting into the crankcase directly, like say that the oil fill does go directly into the oil pan, you could possibly vacuum it out somehow using a proper hydraulic vacuum system, or some sort of something that will allow you to draw it out. But the reality is that no, you wouldn't you would have to drain it. That's the honestly the easiest and fastest way. Drain it out. Um, if you have a clean pan, that's perfect. If you have a pan that has a little bit of oil, like specks of oil, old oil in it, it's not going to hurt anything. The biggest thing is you just want to make sure there's no debris in the pan you're going to use to catch and refill your oil with. That's your biggest thing. Anyhow, let's go back in here and go into assemble mode. All right, so let's call that one that I need. Yeah, it's called that one. Did this bumper get replaced? Yes, it did. The hood's in good shape now. I remember this. Yeah, look, the hood's flat now. That's kind of funny. Hey, why'd you go out of assemble mode? Okay, so I need that bumper. Yeah, I called that one needing. That's good. Yeah, I need that one. Okay. Doors. Were the doors any good? Yes, it is. Okay, so I need that glass. Need that glass. Need that glass. Alright. I would say I need that glass. Let's get that glass. Alright. Nope. Worked. Good. Alright. So now I need to go to Body Workstation, maybe? Yeah. And let's go ahead and open my list. Need you. Need you. Need you. Alright. So let's go ahead and install that. And that. And you. And you. And you. And you. Might as well put the license plate back on. Even though they're in horrible shape. You know what? I could do license plates. Even though that's so weird. Might as well write this down because I'm not going to remember that. And do you want to learn the NATO phonetic internet or internet alphabet? Echo dash hotel. Oh crap! Forgot what P is. Oh well. P. I think it's Paul. Charlie 5 Echo. Alright, so Echo Hotel, Paul Charlie 5 Echo. I believe that's how that would go in the NATO phonic. Oops. Plates. There we go. Huh, okay. It don't matter. I need a blank one. Just a blank white one. Do they have that in here? I mean, if they don't... Oh, wait, where was it? Oh, it's British Columbia. Huh. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's make it a California plate then. That's not the California plate. Oh, well. So, Echo dash well, let me just do that. Guess not. Huh. So let me do dash. Oh well. Hotel Paul. I swear I think it's Paul. I don't think it's Phoenix. I think it's Paul. Charlie. 5. Echo. License plate standard. I wonder why I didn't have it. Unless I happen to miss it. Oh. Might help if I install the glass here too, huh? Okay. Alright. So that's all that glass. Not what I meant. Oh well. And maybe it won't let me do it because I got it on the lift. So let's put you down. Come on. Why won't you go down? Oh, there we go. Alright. Keeps taking it off. I don't want to take it off. What the heck? Huh. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. I don't know why, but it's not letting me do it. So, screw it. I'll just take it apart. Interior parts. Interior symbol. Okay, so I need that. Yeah, let's say I need seats. And steering wheel. Okay. Whoops. And interiors. That's what it's going to be. Let's get you. 2 of you. And 1 of you. Yep. Yep. Good. All right. Alrighty. Now we can move the car. Just double check everything here. Alright, we are at 100%. So let's... There we go. So move the car to the rolling road. Alright. Yes. Again, I'm not aware of a rolling road that exists like this in real life. I mean, kind of fun. Yep. All right. Yeah, see, that's why I brought it over here because I knew that considering this was a barn find car, it would still need its alignment done per this game, which I don't mind. That's actually a good thing. It should drive this into you that you should always check after you install new suspension parts. You should always check your alignment when you do new suspension parts. Same thing with headlights. And look how badly aligned that is. Let's go there. That's good. Yeah. Right there is good. All right. Where else can I move it? I got clean. Let's do a dyno run just to see what it does. I mean, you shouldn't deviate from factory power, at least according to the game. And I'll tell you what, while that's running, I'll be right back. I must go to the bathroom. I feel better. All right, I'm back. And yeah, I didn't think it would change much or anything. Okay, so yeah, I wouldn't be able to tune anyway, which again, it's kind of a shame because you could technically change, the jetting and stuff on the stock carburetor. So it's kind of a shame that it doesn't, accurately replicate that. Anyway, um, so yeah, there's not much more I can do unless I want to change the color, which I kind of don't. So that's yeah, good. I can make good profit. So let's go ahead and sell it for that $85,607 of profit. Yay! All right, let's go junk the junk parts. Crud. Yay! There we go. Can I get it? Yes. Ah. There we go. I'm doing pretty good this time. I say as I screw that one up. Crud. Got that one. Got that one. All right. Ah. Stop paying attention. Cool. Early. Late. that one. Alright. Crap. Flip. I mean, it looks like most of the ones I'm screwing up on are small. Like they're only offering 3 points over the 2 and 1. Yeah, there we go. Erg. Got you. Crap. Got you. Yep. Hey, you got that one. Got that one. Crap. Crap. That would have been 4. That would have been nice. Alright. Yep. Crud. Crud. Ooh, okay. Oh, no. I could have 5 out of that one. Oh, well. Man. Crap. Let me just take a few greens then. Crap. Okay. Keep going for the blue bonus. Oh, come on. How'd I miss that? Ugh. Okay. Oh, what? There we go. Crap. It's almost like you can't think about it. Like there, I thought about it. There we go. Crap. Actually, pretty good. I got 297 of scrap. There we go, 300. Crap. Ouch. Oh well. Yes, such thrilling content I am doing here. Mostly because I'm trying to concentrate. Crap. Again, I know I'm not saying anything. It's getting so boring just watching me mash a button. Ah. There we go. Ah, crud. There we go. Ah. Oh, it's got something. Ah! Last one. Crap. Alright, well, now what can I do some improvements on that would actually make it worth it? Nothing in my current inventory. As a matter of fact, I should probably put all those in the warehouse. Yeah, let me go put this in the warehouse first. Alright, so put all these in the warehouse. I might sell though. Yeah, I'll sell that. You know, I'll keep those. Because the one thing you can do with this game, which is nice, is that anything you restore from a barn find or anything like that, you can always resell. So like these, I'm gonna sell. Yes, but I'm not getting much. But the amount of money I put into it, now that I think about it, I didn't lose anything. All right. Now let's move on to the next car, which is this Renault. So, same thing as we did last week. Let's go ahead and start with a wash. Not the color I would have gone with, but okay. It's missing a seat. Of course it is. So let's move you. Oh, I wonder if it has oil in it. This will let me know right away. Yep, no engine oil. Okay. So let's go ahead and put it into the lift. Well, I might as well take you off. Huh. Does that let me disassemble anything? What the heck? Huh. Whoops. And yeah, here we go. Remove. So yeah, funny part about this Renault Clio V6, if you're not familiar with it, which, you know, don't feel bad if you aren't familiar with it, but it is a rear engine, practically mid engine at this point. But it was converted to, well, that's cool. But it's a front wheel drive car, which is why you see a frunk here. That was converted by Renault with a V6 in where the rear seats used to be. It's a crazy car in real life. And this thing really existed. Kind of wish this was some of the craziness we got with Nissan and when it had its partnership with Renault. It still does, if I remember correctly. Like, we got mundane things from Renault and Nissan. I kind of wish Nissan got some of this, a little bit of this craziness. Like would have been fun to have. Like we didn't even get the Pulsar over here, but it would have been fun to have gotten the Pulsar in the United States and be based off of a Renault Clio and have this crazy rear engine V6 car. It'd just be nice. Also, I don't think this is correct. I think the brake ABS controller would still be under the hood. I don't think this is right. Oh, it's got clips on it. Let's pop these out. Is there one more? No. Probably missing. Don't think there is anything else to remove. What do we got up here? Okay, there's the radiator. There's the fuel tank. Okay, so I gotta lift it up. Alrighty. Now this one I'm thinking about making into the wild car. So let's go over to body tuning. Yes, okay, good. So I could do some aftermarket stuff. That'd be kind of fun. So let's take the fuel tank out. Let's take these off. I do kind of wish this game, again, being a game that allows you to do stuff like this, it would be kind of nice to see it give you the option to do like true engine swaps and real stuff like that. It does. I think this does allow for some engine swapping, but I don't think it's as in depth as you can do it. The other thing I wish it would do is allow you to do wide fenders. As you can see, you can't really take the fenders off of this, and you can't put any wide fenders on these cars. It'd just be kind of nice just as a cute thing to do, you know? Why are you dinging at me? Why are you like that? Oh, right. Because, oh, yeah, that's good. This is a McPherson Strut car. So, again, it shows that the sway bar link is connected to the strut. And that's accurate. Didn't even think about that. Let's go ahead and pop this out. Okay, can't pop you off yet. Alright, now I can pop you off. And I can take you out. And we can go over to the other side. I will say, as wild as the Renault Clio was, and the V6 one anyway, I do seem to recall Top Gear testing it, and they didn't find it incredibly fun to drive because it was such a wild car. Because it was, again, a front-wheel drive car converted to rear drive and moving the engine from the front to the rear. That kind of stuff plays with the chassis balance, so I'm not entirely surprised that it didn't quite handle like it could have. But still, fun thinking from a French car company that we don't really see anymore. I mean, this is the brand that made the F1 engine minivan, the Espace. I think it was the Espace F1, as a matter of fact. Yeah, okay. So let's do this real quick. Just pop these out. here. And in this case, I can tell you for sure that those bolts for the subframe would be under the car. They wouldn't be in this area. Unless there's some weird French thing that was went on. Pop that off. Get this out. No sway bar in the rear. At least not in this game model, anyway. Take this off. Where should I go next? Let's pop the exhaust off. Good thing there was no oil in the car. And this game does charge you for spilling oil, by the way. I think it's only like a few credits. Like, I think it's maybe like 50 credits or 100 credits. You know, small potatoes in the grand scheme of how much money I have in this game right now. All right. And now we can drop this down. Move you to lift 1. Oh, it does. Okay, that's cool. It actually puts it at the rear like it should. Pull the engine out. Oh, you have to remove the gearbox in this one. Huh. In real life, you could technically you could just drop it all from the bottom. But this one wants the gearbox removed, which is not a big deal. Why don't you want me to drop the gearbox? Oh, starter. That's why. I mean, yeah, the way they do it, that's technically accurate. The starter probably would be bolted to the block and not bolted technically to the bell housing, but that's not always true. Sometimes they are bolted to the bell housing directly. But it can be good practice to, remove your engine or remove your transmission when you're trying to remove your engine. But you don't always have to do that. At least not in this, like what we've done here. Camera, can these be moved? No. Okay. All right. So let's take the engine out. What do you mean drain the engine? What? What? There was no oil. Okay. Apparently, there's just enough oil in the engine for them to say there's oil in the engine. Which again, that shouldn't stop you from taking the engine out. Or do I use? Oh, I use it. Okay. It wasn't even a quart. Come on, game. Okay. I mean, like I said, that shouldn't be enough to stop me from. Even if it was full of oil, it shouldn't stop me from taking the engine out. Again, there are a few things this game does right, and there are a few things this game just does wrong, and it's unfortunate. Install on the stand. All right. All right. This should allow me to take the belt off first. Oh. Or maybe it won't. All right, come on. Is this? Ah, it's this. A little idler pulley. It looks more like a tensioner, but it's got two bolts. There we go. Was it? That's power steering. Okay. All right. What? Why aren't you letting me take the crank pulley off? You should be able to take the crank pulley off. Is it really going to tell me it's trapped behind this front cover? Oh. Oh. Okay, that's how they're modeling a timing belt on this game. That's not how that would really work, but whatever. So let's take this tensioner off. Because that's a tensioner. That's for sure a tensioner. Is that enough? Yes, it is. Pop you off. Now can I take you off? Yes. Okay. Flipping heck. Take the water pump off. Pop you out. Another tensioner, or another idler pulley, I should say. Alright. Stuck bolt. Wish there was a better indication of what a stuck when you have a stuck bolt. It sometimes it will do that little ratchet noise on you, but not always. Like it didn't do there. Like I had to guess. Oh, it's stuck bolt. Like no. Oh. Like right there. There's no indication until you do that. All right. Let's go ahead and pop these off. These are the coils. So these are coil unplugged. If you heard of that, not knowing what that means. Oh, the camshaft caps that are girdles. This is a good example of that. So as you can see, the cam caps are connected to each other. This brings a lot of stability into the system. So that's why you see it done this way. Again, the way they were taking this apart, you wouldn't do that. You would start at the center So they started from here and moved this way. I would start from here in the center, from these two bolts, and work my way around. Now this one they're doing kind of different. I'm not sure why they do this one different. Anyway. Alright, let's go around to the side. So even though these are individual coils and they're like I said, they're called coil on plug. The principle is still the same in this instance. It's still a magnification of the 12 volts that, or even potentially just 5 volts that sees, and triggers by a falling electromagnetic. No, I have that wrong. Magnetic field, falling electromagnetic field. Oh, I just realized this one has a whole cam girl missing. Alright, so let's go ahead and remove the exhaust manifolds. Oh. See? No good indication. Alright, let's take this guy off then. And we can take the cam gear. We can take the cam gear off. Yeah, I thought so. No need to be this precise. What the heck? Does this not come off? Or is it because the cams are still there? Maybe that's why. What can I show here? Don't think there's anything I really show in particular here. These are little cam buckets, by the way. This is what the camshaft lobes are acting on to open the valve. This side looks like it's going to be the intake. So yeah, so this is the intake valve, and there's a little tappet here that acts directly on the spring. If you think about a pushrod engine, it's a little different, and we'll get to that when I get to one of those engines. But for now, let's just keep working on this guy. Oh, it does have fuel rails. Duh. And we're taking the lower plenum off. Okay, that doesn't come out. All right. And there it is. Like, where is the other cam? It's right here. So this should come off now. Or is it going to take the head off? Oh, it's taking the head off. Oh, it is separate. Okay. All right. Surprised these gonna come off. Now, what are these for? More than likely, it's a representation of the positive crankcase ventilation system, the PCV. And yeah, that's because as this oil gets kind of whipped up by the crankshaft, it creates positive crankcase pressure. And that allows little droplets of oil to escape out and into the cylinders and out of the valves and everything. This works to remove some of that pressure and subsequently those little oil particulates. It gets transferred into the intake system to where it gets burned by the combustion chamber. I doubt there's really only 4 bolts holding it in. And I doubt there's only two main caps on this particular engine. Wow. Unless it's, again, one of those deals where it's modeling something that's broken, but I don't think so. I think they've only put two main caps on this engine. And on top of that, if it's how I think it's done, this would be a girdle. So this whole lower half here would be one piece as in part of the main caps here. So if you're familiar with an LS, it's the same way. LS is done the same way. Kinda. No, its main caps are just one girdle. I don't think it's part of the oil pan. But I think the new Hurricane is the lower oil pan and crank girdles are one piece. All right, so let's go ahead and pop these pistons out. And now sure we'll do the crank. Yeah, good. And the block. All right. Okay, let's see what we can fix here. Let's go ahead and pop you on. Crap. There we go. And yeah, if I was really working on something like this is what I would do in real life. I would let the lathe work while I'm working on something else on this car. All right, don't have anything else. All right. And there we go. Actually, looking at what time it is, I might finish up doing these restorations, as I call them. And once I'm done with that, I may go ahead and just call it a day here, chat. Again, I know I'm not giving any riveting, exciting gameplay here because of how boring this part is. There we go. Shouldn't be too much longer. At least I don't hope. There we go. And most to say I'm probably going to end the day because right now it's 12:42 my time, and keep in mind it's a little bit delayed on Twitch, so I wouldn't mind getting some lunch. So once I get done with all this, I'll probably stop and go get some lunch and let y'all be on your way and enjoy the rest of y'all's day. Almost done here. Um, Actually, I might do the buy stuff next, and then once that's done, yeah. This shouldn't take long from the looks of it. Though I don't know why I'm saying I'm doing this because I already have plans of doing the aftermarket parts. But well, there we go. Oops. So let's go ahead and save game. And what I'll do is I'll exit. Yes, that's fine. And scene. And there we go. So that was some more Car Mechanics Simulator 2021. Like I said, that was part of what I did today, along with talking a little bit about the Scout Motors, Terra, and Traveler. I would say that's it for now. And again, I thank you for watching me live. If not, appreciate you watching me on YouTube after I've uploaded the video on demand or VOD. I still have plans to edit those down to better chunks on YouTube because I know it can be a lot to watch a 4 or 5 hour live stream again on YouTube. So I'm going to go ahead and say that's it. Thank you guys for watching again, and I'll see you in the next one. Oh, if you want to see this again, it's Carbage Online on YouTube. So youtube.com/@CarbageOnline. And again, if you want to keep watching me, please continue watching me here on Twitch. And if you want, you can also support the channel directly. It's patreon.com/Carbage. Again, if I do happen to remember that, I will say it every once in a while, but usually it'll be at the close like this, or I may not mention it at all because I'm bad about that. But yeah, thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Bye.